First thing you're going to run into is something called a perfect square. So if we took a number like 2 and we squared it, we're going to get the answer of 4. So 4 is a perfect square because it is 2 being squared. If I wanted to undo that process, I would actually take the square root of 4, which is going to give me plus or minus 2. And again, we are just going to focus on the positive value. Now, one of the things that you will need to do, because in the third quarter we will be taking some pop quizzes on specific values. So you need to know your perfect squares and their inverse properties, their square roots, from 0 to 20. And we will do this for a grade, and you'll need to create some sort of spreadsheet that I will guide you through a little bit later in the quarter. But just keep in mind, you need to be familiar with those. If you are familiar with those, they will help you tremendously on the ACT. So always looking for little shortcuts and little helpful hints that we can use on the ACT. Now, let's take a look at a problem that would actually use perfect squares. If the directions told us to reduce to simplest radical form, that means we want to break the radical up and put it in the smallest pieces that we can according to the rules that we learned up here. So these rules are the rules that are going to judge whether we've done whether we've put the radical in simplest radical form. So if we look at the square root of 36, it's an understood 2 for the root. Remember, 36 can be written as 6 squared, and that being the case, the root and the power actually cancel each other out. So the square root of 36 is the same thing as the square root of 6 squared, which these 2's cancel each other out, leaving us just the 6. Now, I do not expect you to go through these steps every time you do this. That is just to show you the step-by-step technical version mathematically what's going on. I would expect you to just know the square root of 36 equals to 6 and knowing all your perfect squares and your square roots up to 20. So if we look at sample problem 1, just go ahead and pause the video for a second and work part A, B, and C. Okay, so if we're working these and we've memorized them, that's the ideal situation. Otherwise, you may have used your calculator to help you with this, and we know that the square root of 64 is equal to 8. The square root of 169 is equal to 13, and the square root of 289 is equal to 17. Now, here's the thing. Even though the radical is completely eliminated, we've taken a radical and we've simplified it as far as we can. So this is considered still to be in simplest radical form because it's simplified as far as you can go. Now, in some cases, you will still have a radical. Even though it's simplest radical form, there may be a radical remaining in the final answer.